Welcome back to my channel, Stardust Stories, where I aim to tell my stories in order to help someone overcome heartache and pain in their lives. By realizing that no matter what your circumstances, you have the power within you to overcome anything. Let me start this episode with this quote. Make a pact with yourself today to not be defined by your past. Sometimes the greatest thing to come out of all your hard work isn't what you get for it, but what you become for it. Shake things up today. Be you. Be free. Share. By Steve Maraboli. In the previous episode, I told you about the events that took place during my marriage to my first husband, and how everything that happened drove us apart, and that these events also signaled the end of our relationship. He had become so bitter and cold towards me that we didn't even share a room anymore, and I just knew I had to get out of there. And so, eventually I took whatever belongings I could and moved to my sister, who lived in a flat and worked in the city. I got a job at an old age home, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free again. I absolutely loved my job at the home, helping the old people. I felt like I had a purpose in life again. We didn't have a lot of money, but we lived a good life, and I was happy. A couple of months after moving out, I started divorce proceedings, and that sparked a rage in my husband. He started harassing me, trying to persuade me to come back to him. But I was not having any of that. And then he pulled the ultimate trump card. He called a meeting with myself, my sister, and my father. I wasn't sure what he wanted to achieve by doing that, but we all agreed and the meeting took place. At this meeting, he confronted my father about the sexual abuse. I had told him about it when we were married, and although he was upset, I asked him to let it be. But on that day, he just went crazy and confronted my dad in person in front of me and my sister, who up to then did not know anything about it, as I never told her about it. And of course, it turned out into a big argument and screaming and shouting. It was terrible. But for the first time in his life, my father actually admitted he did it and apologized to me. But it was such a shock to have it happen in this fashion. Needless to say, whatever he thought he was going to achieve by doing this only made me more adamant to get the divorce finalized and to move on with my life. He was unstable, and I needed to start a new life. A few months after that episode, I met my second husband. He was a policeman who worked in the area where my sister and I lived, and he was tending to a domestic call at the flat below the one we stayed in. And of course, we were watching what was going on from our balcony. And when he and his fellow officer was finished with their official work, they started chatting to my sister and I, and they invited themselves for coffee at our flat after their shift ended that afternoon. At first we got on well, although he was very quiet and his friend did most of the talking. And after that coffee visit, they started visiting more often, and sometimes he would come over on his own to visit. But he was awkward, and many times the three of us, my sister, myself, and him, would just sit there without really talking. Strange, but I liked him. But I was also not 100% sure if he was interested in me or my sister. In Anyway, a while after that, he asked me to a party at the police barracks where he lived at the time. And I said yes. He picked me up and we went to the party. It was nice to go out with him and meet his friends, but as the night progressed, I noticed that he was drinking a lot. And at first, it didn't really bother me because we were all drinking too much and having a good time. Until at one stage during the evening, I noticed that he had disappeared. I asked his friends if they knew where he was, and eventually one of them came back to tell me that he had found him passed out in his room. So he basically just left me there, with no way to get back to my flat. I was unhappy about the situation, but luckily one of the friends offered to take me home. A few days passed before he eventually came to see me again, very apologetic, and I thought, okay, it was just a once-off incident and that it wasn't really that big of a deal. And as I really liked him, I wanted to get to know him better. So I let it be. We continued to go out and get to know each other, and we fell in love. And although I saw the dangers of his drinking and aggression, I think I was so in love that I thought it would get better in time. But we all know those kinds of things don't get better. But I'm regressing. Let me get back to the story. A few months later, he got a very lucrative job offer in another province, and he wanted to get out of the police force for a while. But that meant that he would have to move, and we did not want our relationship to end just because of distance. So I resigned my job at the old age home and I left with him. This was our very own beginning, a new place, a new job, and we were excited to go on this new journey. And what a journey it would turn out to be. In the next episode, I will tell you about that journey and how everything that happened during that journey would influence me to be the person I am today. Until next time, never forget, you are strong, you are loved, and you are special.